All right, so everyone's talking about AI these days, right? And researchers like you, well, you might be wondering, is this thing gonna like write my papers for me now?
Well, not quite, but it is true that generative AI is having a huge impact on research.
So that's what this deep dive is all about, generative AI and how it's changing the game for researchers, especially in information systems.
Exactly. We're diving into a fascinating article from information systems research called The Janus Effect of Generative AI. It's got some really insightful stuff.
The Janus Effect. Okay, dramatic title.
Yeah.
So is this AI thing like a good thing or a bad thing for research? Janus, like two faces and all.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's kind of both. Think of it like having a superpowered research assistant, someone who can analyze mountains of data and even draft parts of your research papers.
Okay, that sounds pretty amazing. But there's got to be a catch. We wouldn't be talking about two faces, right?
I got it. This article doesn't shy away from the potential downsides either, which we'll definitely get into. But first, let's break down what we actually mean by generative AI.
Yeah, for those of us who haven't, built a robot in our garage.
Basically, we're talking about tools powered by something called large language models, or LLMs for short.
LLMs, got it.
And these LLMs, they're built on these things called transformers. They're really good at figuring out the relationships between words in a sentence. That's how they can process information, kind of like how we understand language.
So not just spitting out random words, but actually understanding the context.
Exactly. And get this, they're trained on these massive data sets. Books, articles, code, you name it. Some of them have even been trained on the entire internet.
Okay, that is wild. No wonder everyone's freaking out about this. So how is this actually being used in research right now, particularly in information systems?
Well, for starters, imagine being able to brainstorm research questions with an AI.
Brainstorm with a computer. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. The article talks about how researchers actually did this for a study on, get this, the ethical implications of using AI in healthcare.
Whoa, meta. Using AI to study AI. So how did that work?
They fed it some keywords related to the topic, like data privacy, algorithmic bias, and patient consent, things like that. And the AI actually generated a bunch of potential research questions that they could then explore further.
So instead of staring at a blank page, you've got the AI giving you a head start. Yeah. That's pretty neat. What else can it do?
Oh, it's not just about generating research questions. It can help with literature reviews, too. You know how time-consuming those can be?
Tell me about it. Sifting through endless research papers. It's the worst.
Well, imagine being able to get a comprehensive overview of key themes and connections between different papers in just a few hours. That's what these tools can do.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. Efficiency for the win.
Yeah.
And this applies to actual data analysis too, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is where things get really interesting, especially in a field like information systems, where we're often drowning in data. Imagine using an AI to analyze customer data for a new software release. It could spot patterns and trends that might not be immediately obvious to a human analyst, which can lead to all sorts of insights about user behavior and preferences.
So it's like having an extra set of eyes or maybe even an extra brain helping you make sense of all that information.
Exactly. And that's just the beginning. There is a lot of potential here, especially when it comes to developing theoretical frameworks in information systems. Imagine using AI to analyze a bunch of case studies on, say, implementing new technology in organizations. The AI could potentially identify common patterns and challenges, which would be incredibly helpful for refining existing theories or even coming up with new ones.
Okay, so this is sounding pretty amazing so far. But I know there's another side to this story, right? We'll have to get into the potential downsides and, the whole Janus effect thing. But before we do, anything else we should highlight about the potential benefits for IS researchers specifically? Okay, so we've talked about all the amazing upsides, but this article isn't just sunshine and rainbows, right?
Right. Generative AI isn't a magic bullet.
No.
And this article really digs into some of the potential risks and challenges. One term that stuck out to me was hallucination.
Hallucination? Like the AI is seeing things?
Well, kind of. It's when these AI models generate information that is completely made up, but they present it as if it were a fact.
Oh no, that sounds like a recipe for disaster, especially in research where accuracy is so important.
Exactly. And it can be tough to spot these hallucinations because the AI often presents the information with such confidence.
So you might not realize something is off until it's too late. the article mentioned some examples where things went wrong, right?
Yeah, there was one where the AI generated completely fake author names and even made up paper titles. And it's not always easy to tell. You might think you're looking at a legitimate research study, but then you try to track down the citations and they lead to nowhere.
Oh man, that's a researcher's worst nightmare. So what can we do about it? How can we use these AI tools responsibly, especially given these risks?
Well, the article emphasizes the importance of developing strong independent knowledge. Don't just rely on the AI to tell you everything. Read those foundational papers, familiarize yourself with different research methods, and get to know your field inside and out.
Okay, so don't go into it blind. You need that solid foundation to be able to spot when the AI might be leading you astray. What else?
Fact check everything. Treat any output from these AI tools as a starting point, a suggestion, not the gospel truth.
Even if it sounds convincing.
Especially if it sounds convincing. Don't be afraid to double-check those citations, verify those facts, and really think critically about the information the AI is giving you. And, of course, be transparent about your AI use in your research. Let your readers know how you use these tools and what limitations you encountered.
So transparency is key. Don't try to hide the fact that you're using AI. Just be upfront about it.
Exactly. And keep in mind that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it has its strengths and weaknesses. It can be incredibly helpful for tasks like data analysis or literature reviews.
Like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. But it's not a replacement for human intelligence, critical thinking, or domain expertise. Those are things that only you, the researcher, can bring to the table.
Right. So it's all about finding that balance, that sweet spot where we're leveraging the power of AI without becoming overly reliant on it or blindly trusting its output.
Exactly. And I think that's especially important in a field like information systems, which is constantly evolving.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we find that balance and use these AI tools responsibly in our research? So where do we go from here? It's like we're standing at the edge of this AI revolution, but how do we actually navigate it responsibly? Especially in a field like information systems, which is already so driven by technology.
It's definitely a brave new world, and the article actually offers some really practical guidance for researchers. Like, it's not just about the tech itself, right? It's about how we use it.
Okay, so give me the cheat sheet. What are the key takeaways for using AI responsibly in research?
Well, the first thing they emphasize is building a strong foundation of independent knowledge. Don't just jump straight into using AI without really understanding your field.
Right, like don't ask the AI to write your research paper if you haven't even done the reading yourself.
Exactly. You need that baseline knowledge to be able to assess the AI's output critically, which brings us to the next point. Fact check everything.
Everything, even if it sounds legit.
Especially if it sounds legit. Remember those hallucinations we talked about. Don't take anything for granted. Double check those citations, verify those facts, and think critically about the information the AI is giving you.
Got it. So build a strong foundation, fact check everything. What else?
Transparency. If you use AI in your research, be upfront about it in your publications. Let your readers know how you used it, what tools you used, any limitations you encountered, all of that.
So basically, don't try to pass off the AI's work as your own.
Exactly. And keep in mind that AI is a tool. It's not here to replace human researchers. It's here to augment our capabilities.
It's like having a super-powered research assistant, not a replacement for your own brain.
Exactly. And I think that's super important to remember in information systems, where we're dealing with such complex and nuanced issues. Think about the potential here. We could have AI tools trained on decades of IS research, helping us analyze massive data sets, model complex systems, and even design better algorithms.
Now that's exciting. So it's not about humans versus AI. It's about humans and AI working together.
Exactly. The future of research is collaborative.
I love that. It's about embracing these new tools, but also approaching them with a critical eye and a commitment to responsible use. And who knows what amazing discoveries await us when we combine human ingenuity with the power of AI. This has been The Deep Dive. Signing off until next time.